You started writing with a newborn?
Yes. He was about 6 months old and I had a 1.5-year-old at the same time. And I did have faith that it was going to work out. I kind of had this blind faith that it was going to happen. There's no age barrier, is there? There's no, you haven't made it, you kind of have to give up now. There are brilliant authors who started writing. You know, I was 40 when I first got published. There's brilliant writers who start writing in their 50s and 60s and so forth.
I think you're better now you're older.
Yes. In fact, I wrote 3 books, I believe it was, and before, it might have even been 4. 3 or 4 books before my breakthrough, Now You See Her. It took 5 years to get a publishing deal.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Books on the Beach. I'm really delighted to be able to introduce you to my guest today because she's new to me. She might be new to you, but this is the book to get in, and I'm telling you now, this is the book to get in. I've loved this for the last kind of 5 or 6 days, and I've been reading Heidi Perks's latest, her 8th novel. And I was desperate to get Heidi on this podcast because every time I do the big shop in the supermarket, it's always her book that is front and centre. Several of them, not just one, several of the last few have all been in the supermarket. So I was keen to meet the woman behind the supermarket hits, and I'm delighted to say Heidi Perks is here now to talk to us about It Ends Here. It begins here. The book is It Ends Here. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Really, really nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
How long have you been at it?
Writing.
Obviously. I mean, I wouldn't be so impersonal so early on.
15 years.
Yeah.
I took redundancy from my job in marketing when my youngest was born, and I started writing 15 years ago.
You started writing with a newborn?
Yes. God. He was about 6 months old and I had a 1.5-year-old at the same time.
My wife and I felt just getting out of the house with a 6-month-old was a victory.
I know.
You're churning out 90,000 words.
And I gave myself a year to write my first book, and I'd taken redundancy at my job. I didn't know what else I wanted to do other than bringing up my children. But I just felt like I always had in the back of my head that I wanted to write a book. And so I thought that was a perfect time to do it.
So can you remember back? I mean, were there moments where the baby had maybe just gone to sleep in one arm and you're one finger typing with the other?
You know what? I wasn't doing that. I can't really remember. I was very lucky with my children. They both did sleep for quite substantial times in the day. So I remember them both going down for like a 2-hour nap in the morning and again in the afternoon. And that must have been when I did it, because I seriously can't really remember that far back. All I remember is setting myself this deadline of a year and setting myself these word count targets that I had to achieve each week to try and get me through it.
And was that, now my understanding is, but you'll tell me if I'm wrong, that wasn't the breakthrough book though, right? No, not by far. In fact, I wrote 3 books, I believe it was, and before, it might have even been 4. 3 or 4 books before my breakthrough, Now You See Her. It took 5 years to get a publishing deal. When you look back now, given the success you've enjoyed, can you see what you did differently that allowed that book to punch through? Or was it just luck?
No, I think, yes, there's an element of luck in it. I think to be in the right place at the right time in front of the right agent is part of it. But no, it was a huge learning curve for sure. I was constantly improving. I was doing absolutely anything I could to learn about writing, to learn about plotting and developing characters and setting and all of these things that I had no idea about when I first started writing. I mean, definitely when I set out with my first book, I had this idea for a story. It wasn't particularly crime. It was a bit more of a drama, a family drama. I didn't, I was just learning as I went along at that point for sure.
And did you do the writing course after the first book?
I did, yes, I did. I'd finished my first book. I'd sent it out on submission to lots of agents. It got absolutely nowhere, which is unsurprising.
Why did you say that? Why is it unsurprising?
I doubt my writing was very good. I didn't pitch myself very well. I think that was a huge part of it. I didn't really know.
That's a whole art though, isn't it?
It's a massive art. And I learned that later on.
On the course?
No, not on the course. Right. I learnt it from doing my own research.
Did you?
Into what should a submission letter look like? How should you write an elevator pitch? What even is an elevator pitch? I hadn't even heard of one before that point.
Which is bizarre because you were in marketing.
I know.
Did they not exist in marketing?
I was marketing over 50s life plans through direct mail.
Oh, were you? Were you the one sending the very nice fountain pens?
I had an advert with Cilla Black on the TV, and I was absolutely sending fountain pens. And radio alarm clocks, I think, at the time. You know, when you could choose your free gift or whatever when you joined. But yeah, no, I was I was financial services. I was in a very different line of marketing. And I was also marketing in the age before, digital had come in, but I wasn't digital. I was all offline marketing.
Of course, because that's your target audience are
direct mail and radio predominantly.
Yeah, I was going to be less polite. I was going to say coffin dodgers.
Yeah.
They're not on social media, are they? You're not going to reach them through a TikTok, are you?
I don't think there even was TikTok back then, was there? So no, I didn't. I kind of didn't have that experience really in marketing my own book. So that was a massive journey for me to figure all of that out. But I loved doing it, and it was it was an exciting time in some ways, and it was a mortifying time in others, because you go through huge dips when you don't always get a rejection letter. You just sometimes get stone cold silence. Yeah. And that was a huge part of it.
So how did you keep going, Heidi? Because when you say you wrote 3 books or 4 books before you had that hit, I would imagine lesser souls would have just stopped. I'm thinking now with the self-doubt I have, thinking, could I have pushed through that and kept going?
I remember a couple of specific things about that time. I remember sitting on the sofa watching daytime TV, thinking...
Watching your ads with Cilla Black.
Thinking, I can't keep going. I need to do something else. I knew I needed to do something with my brain. There was no way I could do nothing. Mm-hmm. I needed to do something for myself. What am I going to do? This isn't going to work. What am I going to do? And then in the next moment thinking, there is nothing else I want to do. I want to write. I'm passionate about it. This is what I want to do. I cannot imagine myself now going back into an office, doing the job I used to do. I need to keep going. And I did have faith that it was going to work out. I kind of had this blind faith that it was going to happen.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it? It's really hard to describe to other people.
Yeah.
It's almost it's a stoic confidence you've got.
Yeah. And
despite self-doubt.
Yeah, I guess so. And I've always been a huge reader, a massive reader. And I guess I was reading these books and thinking, I don't see why I can't do that. Mm-hmm. And, the more I learned about the publishing industry and securing an agent, the more I realised that, of course, it is incredibly hard to do. I remember going along to a talk with an agent and hearing her say that she had 50 submission letters a day and thinking, how do you crack through that then?
Yeah, because that goes against that inner stoicism that we just discussed, doesn't it, really? Yeah. Because you're going, well, I just had this blind faith in it. Yeah. But when you were talking, I was thinking of kids who want to be footballers. Yeah. And I was thinking, the drop-off rate is massive around 17, 18, 19. No amount of belief can push through that.
No.
But you did.
Because I guess the difference with writing is, that you can keep going. There's no age barrier, is there? There's no, you haven't made it. You kind of have to give up now. There are brilliant authors who started writing. I was 40 when I first got published. There's brilliant writers who start writing in their 50s and 60s and so forth. So,
do you think you're better now you're older?
Yes.
What is it about getting older that makes you better? I
think life experience and relationship experiences, and I mean relationships in the broadest term with everybody that comes into your life. Yeah. I just would never have written the books that I write in my 20s or 30s. I wouldn't have been able to. And I think with every book I'm writing, I hope it's getting better as well, because and I believe it is. But yeah, no, I think that is it, because relationships are at the core of all of my book. That's what starts the idea for my book. is very often the relationship between the two people, and it grows from there. I then get the idea for what the plot is going to be and what the premise is going to be, and everything else kind of unravels from that point. But it always starts off with this relationship between two people, whoever they are, and what has been thrown at them.
Okay, well, let's apply that to your latest then, to It Ends Here, which I really enjoyed. I mean, this is such a clever book, this. There's a lot going on in this. And as with all these episodes, we're not going to do any spoilers for you because I want you to come to this in the way that I came to it, knowing nothing. And that's how I think you'll maximise your enjoyment. So we'll set this up a little bit, but without kind of giving away too much. Actually, first of all, before we do plot, I just want to ask you this from a kind of, from a word perspective. How hard is it to settle on a 3-word title? It Ends Here.
Do you know what we find between myself, my agent and my editor, we find coming up with titles for my book one of the hardest things. We're going through that process again right now for the one after it. I don't even remember who came up with that. It is difficult. I genuinely don't recall who actually had the idea for that in the end. I think it might have just been, it's always a collaboration.
Right.
Titles, I think there's only been one book where I've come up with the title as I'm writing it, and it's stuck.
So otherwise, what do you submit untitled, and then you the people you've mentioned?
Book 8. Yes, it's book 8.
It's book 8, and then you'll get around the table
and then once it's all done and it's all been copywritten and proofread and everything, we start the process of saying, okay, what's this book going to be called? And it goes back and forth and everybody's coming up with their ideas, and we're saying yes, no, whatever. And if you have a US publisher, as I do at the moment for this one and for the next one, everybody's literally getting involved in the conversation, and then they're taking it out to their teams and coming back. And yeah, so it's a huge.
So it can take a while to settle.
Deliberation, yeah.
What happens if like your UK lot go, yeah, great, we love that one, and the US went, no?
Yeah, we had that with my first one actually. Yeah, Now You See Her was her one mistake in the US because they didn't like the title.
They couldn't agree. They did not go with that.
No, because they have Now You See Me is such a huge film out there. They didn't want to do it.
Franchise.
And we'd gone on and on and on and like, hit this wall of what we were going to do. We really liked Now You See Her. And yeah, we just had to agree that it was going to be a different title. And, actually, it isn't that big a problem. It doesn't really matter. You don't know. No.
As long as you know when you do.
As long as I know. And as long as it's really clear to readers that don't buy this book if you've already read this one.
And you're not alone, are you, with that, with that kind of thing?
No,
I remember the first time I went to America and we went to a Tower Records seeing albums by the Charlatans UK. And I'm like, why is it called the Charlatans UK? Because there was already another Charlatans out there. So,
really?
Yeah, so they had to stick the UK on the end of their same album that we'd seen here in our record stores, but just with UK.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm going to have a go at setting this up. And then if you feel I veer into spoiler territory, you can stop me.
Do I kick you?
Yeah, give me a boot.
Okay.
You can reach from there, can't you? So when we start off, there's a chapter where it's quite clear that a gun has gone off somewhere, and you think, well, where's it gone off? What's going on there? And then quite clearly emerges that there's some kind of, or the police suspect there's a siege in a cafe. And what I thought you'd done really cleverly is, so I'm reading this, obviously I've read a few books, right? So I'm thinking, okay, so we're going to get a locked room in a cafe, are we? But we don't really get that as much because you focus on the relatives of the people that are in there rather than the people themselves. Why did you decide to go down that route?
So yeah, we describe it as a locked room mystery, but told from the outside instead, which I do think is hopefully quite a unique way of doing it.
Very unique.
It didn't come about in that way. I decided the idea of my book, and it kind of fell into being a hostage situation. So the idea first started when I was listening to a true crime podcast about the Yorkshire Ripper and how they were talking about people of that time looking at their husbands and their partners and their fathers and thinking, well, could it be you? We don't know who this man is. We know it's a man. Could it be you? Are you capable of doing something this horrendous? And it got me thinking whether you could ever, or whether anyone would ever say 100% it is not them. It is not my husband. It is not my wife doing this. And so that's very much where the idea from the book came from, and how everybody would have a very different take on that, how everybody's relationship would, you'd have some people going into it saying, absolutely, there's no way I believe for one moment they could do anything like that. And then other people thinking, well, I don't believe they could, but, they have been acting a bit strangely or whatever recently. So I kind of knew that I wanted to have a bit more of a cast of characters with, in the same situation, not knowing whether their loved one was responsible for something horrendous or not. And I wanted to look at how that would affect them and how it would unravel them and how they would react. So that was my starting point for the book. The hostage situation, therefore, came after it.
Right, okay.
And so I knew straight off that I wanted to focus on the people that were being affected from the outside instead. It kind of snowballed from there, really.
Because by doing that, what it means is that you've had to set up quite a number of different points of view in each chapter.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to authors before who've had pushback from publishers and told they've had too many points of view. Now, I tried to do a count up on yours, but then I think I got stuck at 5 or 6.
There's
so
7.
it is 7 in total, right?
Yeah. So I have the 5 relatives. I have the voice of one person inside the room. Correct. And I have the detective.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Did you get any pushback from the publisher?
No, I didn't. It was a conversation that we had very early on when I was pitching the idea to them and saying, this is what the story that I want to write. I have to have these many characters to make it work. And so, we were all a little nervous at that point because I hadn't really started writing the book then, about how it would work, making sure that people didn't get lost, making sure that there just weren't too many voices and, stories that you were hearing. So I went into it very much focusing on the 5 characters, first of all, the 5 main characters, not the one or the detective or the one in the room. And realizing, and learning myself, because I'd never tackled this many characters before, that I had to get to the heart of their story very, very quickly. I had to make all of their stories very difficult so that when you so that when you land back in their chapter again, straight away what is going on with
100%.
them. And then there's just some other things tricks that you can do, I guess, where you how you're introducing them at the beginning of the chapter to make sure that you're positioning the reader back there again and making their names different, all of those other kind of things. But that was what was really important to me, was that, one, the reader knows where they are very, very quickly within the first paragraph of reading each chapter, but also that each time you come to the character again, you're not going, oh God, we're back on them. I want to skip over and read, that they've got a story that you want to invest in, be it, are they going to be pregnant?
Yeah.
What's going on in their marriage?
Yeah.
Why are they not where they should be?
So the thing I took from that as a reader was that, and I get why you've done this, but in order for the mystery element of the story to work, you have to place seeds of doubt with us, the reader, in all of their lives.
Yes.
And I just thought, how does Mr. Perks feel about that? That's what I thought. Because basically, you could read your book and think, Christ, I wouldn't trust anybody ever again.
No. I think reading all of my books, he's probably thought that right from the very beginning, actually. I think he also reads each one thinking, God, am I one of these characters?
Yeah. And the answer probably isn't, he's not, right?
No,
because I would imagine that they're composites, aren't they?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. That, they're nobody I know at all.
But maybe one personality trait from someone you met at a party, or one personality trait from someone you used to work with.
Or one sentence that someone's once said that you think, that absolutely sums up how this character would act. But I did have someone once come up to me at the school gate when my kids were at primary school with the book and go, is this supposed to be me?
Really? That pointed?
No, it isn't. And then a bit later I thought, I can see why you might think that. But no, it absolutely isn't. I would never do anything that overt. But you just take things, don't you? And half the time you don't even realise that you're...
Doesn't that show that I think that story illustrates that we think of ourselves far more than we do other people?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Friends of mine, and they say to me, "Oh, I don't like going to the gym because people are watching me." I'm like, "They're not, mate. They're watching themselves."
Yeah, they're looking at themselves in the mirror.
She's read your book and has seen qualities that she thinks.
Yeah.
And then she also thinks that she's important enough in your world to merit a place in your book.
I wonder whether, do we, like, especially if you know the person who's written it, do you think, oh, God, I hope that isn't me, or you do? But I want people reading my book, not necessarily to go, oh, you've based that on me, but to recognize themselves in these characters, because at the end of the day, they are
relatable.
Ordinary characters as well.
Yes.
Every single one of my books, I want to be a situation that you could possibly find yourself in.
Well, congratulations, you've succeeded, because only about 25 pages in, I put this book down for a second and I thought, God, if that was my wife and her phone was turned off and she wasn't replying to any messages, and there was a shred of suspicion that she was in a siege situation, what would I do?
And what would you do? Did you come to a conclusion?
Yeah, I would have.
Would you think she was responsible?
No, I don't think so. No, I wouldn't have thought she was responsible, but what I definitely would have done is steamed down there and pressured the police to let me in.
Yeah.
Definitely would have done that, because it's the inertia, the doing nothing.
The doing nothing.
Is the worst part, isn't it?
Yeah. And I liked having one of my characters in London, and the journey from London to get to the Isle of Wight is laborious, like the drive down to Southampton, let alone having to wait for the ferry and get over there. And I wanted to try and, build that.
Well, there's the copper Aaron says in the story, on what we're talking about, Aaron has heard of situations like this lasting days before action is taken, something the relatives can never quite come to terms with. I thought that was really insightful. Had you heard that, or did a police officer tell you that?
The police officer told me that. So I have a police officer friend who I run every single one of my books through. He's been there from the beginning, and he was very much a part of this one, obviously, because it's much more detective-led than any of my other books.
Right.
And so I will take him through all of my stories and say, this is what I'm doing. Is this realistic? Is this how the police would react? What would you do in this situation? And that's what he said to me. He said that hostage situations can last days because, and I brought this out in the book as well, the two most serious, the two most dangerous parts of any hostage are right at the very beginning, and then when firearms go in. And so they don't want to rush into anything until absolutely necessary.
Well, that's another quote I pulled from the book, Heidi, to be honest with you. Because the boss is right, in 2 hours anything can happen. It could all be over having culminated in nothing, or it could all be over with an innocent person or persons dead. All Aaron can do is hope he's making the right choice. It's really powerful, that, when I read that. I thought that has to have come from an informed source. It's too insightful. I think the best way for us to discuss some of the other characters is if I name them but don't explain their role in the story, if you're all right with that.
Yep.
So I've got another part here that I wanted to read to you. His beautiful Eleanor. She's long been a mystery to him in so many ways, and yet she displays her life to strangers so freely. He could almost diarise her every day through the photos that she posts. Now, I know you've got teenagers and you're an author, you're a working author that needs to publicise your book. So what are your thoughts on that kind of look at me culture that everyone's obsessed with?
I can't bear it.
Right. Is it a complete anathema to you?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you learn it, don't you? You learn how to use social media, and you learn that it's important in life from a business point of view, for sure. I've had to. I don't like it, but I also love looking at Instagram. So I do. I find myself scrolling on it all the time, even though I sit there and say I hate it. I clearly don't.
Well, you hate being on it.
I hate being on it because I find it's quite fake at times. You're doing things because you kind of almost know you have to some degree to keep up your presence on there. So, and then I forget
to do it.
And that's great because I'm just living life. Yeah. And then I think, oh no, I need to update. So, what I've tried to do with Instagram and my own social media is find things that I think people would be really interested in. And so at the moment I'm in real time writing my 10th book, and I'm posting updates on how I'm doing that. But
that's good. I've seen those.
Have you?
Yeah, they're useful as well.
Yeah, I've only done a couple because I've only just started it. But I think if I can try and track that throughout the year, then that's at least showing people
And it
Here's
doesn't.
how I'm writing a book.
Yeah, and it's not you in the gym or you buying a latte.
No,
or
you're
whatever.
never going to get an Instagram post of me in the gym.
Because you're not
So
there.
not in the gym. You might get one of me buying a latte. But
But the point I was making is that you're showcasing your profession, aren't you? You're not showcasing your life.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I won't ever photograph the children. I won't, show my family. I mean, going back to Mr. Perks, he does sometimes say, in fact, he does sometimes say to me, you never mention, I'm never in it. You never mention you're married or whatever. And I just don't have my family there. But I had a friend came up to me on the beach and she went, oh, you've just been on holiday on your own. I was like, no, I did actually have my whole family there, but I don't show them.
So in a way, I've done him a favour by raising him.
By making sure that people
podcast,
know he's still around. I haven't buried him under the patio or anything yet.
And what's the difference between your view and your children's view? Are they old enough to be on it yet or not?
Yes. Yeah, my children are both teenagers.
And so are they social? Teenagers. They're on the socials and
yeah.
Do they like
more so
it?
my daughter than my son. Yeah, I mean,
is that how they conduct their world?
When you say don't you like it, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think they're very aware that was social media never invented, life would be a much nicer place. I think if none of them had it, they'd probably prefer it that way.
So you and I are the same age. We established that before we came on to chat.
41.
Yeah, this year. Yeah. I'm really delighted it wasn't around when I was a student.
Oh, me too.
I mean, there are some still photos of me that are horrendous enough.
I know. Yeah.
But imagine being captured doing some of those things.
And the awful FOMO and seeing your friends doing something that you aren't at or haven't been invited to. I can't even imagine, that again, that's bad enough as an adult, isn't it? But for teenagers, oh yeah. I mean, what they're growing up with and having to see now is just a massive world away. Although I did say to someone the other day, how did we ever make a plan? How were we all ever in the same place at the same time?
Yeah, you'd have to say to somebody, right, meet me there at 6, and if I'm not there at 6, come back at 6:30. And if I'm not there,
I met up with some of my school friends this weekend, and we all said, when we all used to come back, because we all come from Bournemouth. When we all used to come back from Bournemouth for a weekend, how did we all know to, did someone phone somebody and then they phoned the next one?
How do you know you're all going to choose that weekend?
Because you just didn't ever have a group chat.
But don't you remember, did you go to university?
Yeah.
So the halls of residence had the phone, had the landline, didn't it? And randoms. If you walk past, the code was that you would answer it.
Yeah, right.
And they'd be like, it would be a parent. Can I speak to Andrew? I go, you have to tell me Andrew's surname.
Andrew who?
Which room is he in? Which hall is he in? Sometimes they've called the wrong hall. Then the phone just dangles down for ages, doesn't it? And then someone else in the meantime goes to the phone to call their parents. Hilarious. And ends up speaking to someone else's. Just try and explain that to my 7 and 10-year-old. Now they what? They don't get that at all.
No.
Complete anathema. There's a character in your book who's an author, right?
Yes.
So I just want to ask you about this. She shakes her head. He gets bad reviews occasionally, but no more than any other author. Daniel knows it comes with the territory, but he chooses to ignore them now. He didn't in the early days as he trawled Amazon and sites like Goodreads, ignoring the good ones and focusing on the bad as if he was trying to punish himself.
I know what your question is going to be.
Go on, what's the question?
Is that me? Was that me?
I was going to try and be a bit more subtle about it and go, can you relate?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
Now or in the early days?
Throughout, because I don't look at them anymore. But in the early days, I would read the reviews and I would always hone in on the bad ones.
Would you?
And then I would think, I need to address these. Someone's saying that it's not fast-paced enough for their liking. I need to address that. Why am I writing books that aren't happening quick enough? Mm-hmm. And
can I just interrupt there though? So your response to that criticism, first of all, assumes the criticism is correct.
Correct, yeah.
And secondly, you have no idea who said that. Why would you respect their opinion?
Oh, yeah. But it was a very new world to me,
right,
to have feedback on something that I had done because, suddenly...
Well, you weren't getting in your previous job because they got the fountain pen and then they all joshed it.
Yeah, that's so true. But suddenly all these people, people were having an opinion on something that I had written. And so I was, interested in what they thought of this piece of work that I'd put out, that I'd spent 2 years of my life, or 1 or 2 years of my life on, or whatever. And so, you took it to heart, or I took it to heart. And I thought, I guess I did think they had a point.
How were you then able to establish, say, a more scientific approach to it? Do you know what I mean by that? So let's say, could you take an overview of the book that someone said wasn't fast-paced enough, and could you? But
you're talking like 1 or 2 people. It wasn't even as if it was 20% of all of my readers were saying that. It was 1 or 2 people, right. And I just over time stopped doing it and stopped reading what these people were saying. And I guess you do. You build up resilience, but you also build up awareness that you're always going to get bad reviews, because you're always going to get people want to tell you what they think of your book, that they didn't like it, that they think that they could have done a better job. And so for me, the best way to deal with it is just not to read it.
Have you had a really funny bad review? Have you had one that just really made you? And you know what the most common complaint I get from writers I interview is that they will give the book, say on one of the sales sites, they'll give it 4 instead of 5 stars because it came a day late.
Oh yeah, I've had that.
Nothing to do with your book and your work.
I've had that it didn't arrive quick enough for them.
So that's a star off.
Or sometimes you get it, in reverse as well. 5 stars arrived quickly.
Nothing to do with the book.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but I think, well, I'll take that one. That's fine. Thanks. No, I haven't had it. I haven't had anything that particularly stands out as being funny as such. I've had a few that have contacted me directly to tell me I've got something wrong, like so-and-so show wasn't running at Southampton Mayflower in that month of that year.
Right.
And,
who cares?
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had English teachers writing to me to say I've made a spelling mistake or a grammatical error on page 219, and I think, well, there's not a lot I can do about it now, but...
And was it? Because presumably that's not just you, that's gone through editors and...
Yeah, and you still do find the odd mistake. I mean, it goes through a really rigorous process of being proofread by your editors, being proofread by a proofreader. I will literally print the book out and go through it and read every word out loud. And still you might get a couple of mistakes go through and you think, how did that happen? Actually, interestingly, they pick it up quite a lot when they're reading the audiobook, because you've got someone having to read out every single word out loud and somebody else checking it as well.
Am I right to say by that stage it's too late?
Too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, the book's been printed.
Yeah. Wow. Going back to the format, because again, you'll notice there's an absence of detail here, and that's on purpose so as we don't spoil the book. But I think it's fair to say that one by one, the relatives end up arriving at the scene.
Yeah.
And then what I thought you did really cleverly was, so you've created a locked room on top of a locked room, haven't you? Because you've got...
Yes. And I've not noticed that.
Oh, have you not?
No, so that clearly wasn't done.
Oh, okay. Well, that was my question, because I thought that was so clever.
I guess a locked room, I have never seen it in that kind of wider context of, doing that.
Yeah.
And that, again, was a conversation that I had with my police detective friend of saying, I want them all to turn up. And when I was first starting to write the book, they were in different areas and the detective was going between them all and talking to someone here and talking to someone else on the bench over there. And it was having that conversation with him and him saying, well, you could throw, in fact, he did actually make that recommendation to me. You could throw them all into a room. It would be quite interesting for the detectives to see how they would all react to each other. And so I completely rewrote the scene based on that and created that. I wanted to create this sort of moment of combustion when they were all in the area together, and how did they cope with meeting each other?
But I think the magic of that is that that ramps the pace up even more. So you've got this, that the pace in your story, I think, is us, the reader, uncovering the relationships and then thinking, well, who is anyone holding them hostage? Is it even a siege? What's, and that kind of doubt. But then to get to that point in the story and have the locked room within the locked room takes it to another level for me. I'm just like, right, come on, this is, combustion was the word you just used. That was what I was waiting for. I think that really adds to the kind of, what I should have done. I've seen a couple of people do this. I was quite tempted with yours. Is once I realised it was getting to that level of freneticism for me, I should have put my Apple Watch on it and just see if my heart be raised as I'm reading it. I've seen some people doing that. And you can see your heart.
Really?
Yeah. You can see it watching live sport as well. That's another one where your heart will just raise if your team's getting pummeled or whatever. That's really interesting. Though. So you didn't do that by design then?
No. I mean, a lot of I don't plan any of my books at all. I just start writing.
Okay.
And so, many times I don't know. I did in this instance know who was going to be responsible. I did know that from the start. I felt I had to in this book. But there are some books that I write where I don't know who's responsible when I start writing. I certainly don't know how it's all going to pan out. When I started writing, I didn't know if anybody was going to end up dead, and if they did, who it was going to be. So
how do you judge that then if you don't pre-plan it? Do you reach a certain stage in your writing and you think, do you know what, I'm not going to kill anyone? Or do you reach a stage and go, they need to get it?
I will reach many stages throughout the writing where I have to stop and almost go back to the beginning again and think, okay, well, I've reached a bit of a point now where I don't know how to take the story forward, by which point I'm, say, a third of the way through and the characters are beginning to develop and I can go back and start building on it. So I layer it and layer it and layer it, my books, through rewriting and
how many
rewriting.
Drafts?
I mean...
What was this one?
I would say on average 9 or 10.
Bloody hell. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but that's... Yeah. And sometimes I think, well, I'd love to be someone who does sit there right at the very beginning and plot it all out and know what's going into each chapter. But that is not me. That will never be me. It's just not the way I do it.
To be honest with you, you all do it differently.
Yeah.
I always come back to, I've probably quoted this to you listening and watching before, but William Boyd, who I interviewed, won't write a single word for 18 months. That's what he told me.
Okay.
And he does a full plan, full map. I mean, he even, for one of the books, it might have been Sweet Caress, he even went to a car boot stand and found some Polaroids discarded of a family from years ago. And he thought, right, that will be the family that I'm going to put. And he puts them in the book and builds this full bio and all the rest of it. But I suppose it doesn't matter really which way you do it. He does his 18 months work and then writes it. You write it and then
write it.
Probably
and
don't do 18 months.
No, I'm a year. I'm a book a year.
Book a year. So what kind of period have you got to do your 10 drafts? What period of a calendar?
So I will, I start writing each book in March.
Yeah.
And this is just because this is the way that I've fallen into.
Yeah.
I always try and get my first draft done by my first draft, which is probably about 4 drafts, by the summer holidays, by the time the kids break up from school. So April, May, June, 4 months, say roughly, I will have to have a draft that I'm ready to send off to my agent and editor. They will then both read it. They will come back to me with comments. I will hit it again in September, get another draft, 3 or 4 rewrites again, back to them by September, by the end of October, November, and then we'll do a third. That is the average. Right. So I'll do 3 rounds of writing about 3 or 4.
But then does that mean that you're in this infuriating position that Anthony Horowitz described to me a couple of episodes ago, where you're promoting one book, but your head is stuck in another?
I realised I had 4 books on the go in my head the other day. I was still talking about Someone Is Lying, which is the book before that. We were getting ready to publish, or it ends here. So we were starting to, put that out. I was doing copy edits for book 9, and I was just starting to think of my idea for book 10. And that was all 4 books were happening. And around the March-April area, at the March-April time, I'll get 4 books sort of on the go at any one time in my head.
Wow. How do you cope with
I
that?
forget character names.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised.
And why I've written what I've written and what I've written.
Because you're plate spinning, aren't you? Times 4.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're
Does that suit your personality? If you did one task, would you get bored?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so, yeah. No, and I need a deadline, and I need it to be a bit frantic, I think, to actually get it all done. But you're so in the book that you're writing in that moment, because you have to be, because it becomes a bit all absorbing, that it is difficult to then flick back but I'm quite lucky in that the US publication of this one hasn't come out yet, and I've only just had the copy edits through, so I've just read it all again from front to cover
fresh
for the
back in
US.
your...
So yeah,
that's cool.
It reminds me what's going on. Because otherwise, it's 2 years.
Well, yeah, because you let that
2
slip
years
earlier.
ago.
You said that you worked 2 years in advance. So
Yeah.
how have you been able to get to that position?
I had a year where we didn't publish a book because it got pushed back. I think it wasn't quite ready. We pushed it back 6 months or so. It happened to fall into the next calendar year. And so a year within my first 8 books, there was a year where we didn't actually publish a book. But I then carried on just writing at the same deadlines. And it just meant that I started writing quite a way in advance.
Right, okay.
So my book that is out next March is done.
Right.
We're going through copy edits of that now.
Which means what? In plain English, what's a copy edit?
The copy editor will sit there and go through and make sure there's no discrepancies, inconsistencies, like they're not drinking a can of Coke 1 minute and a cup of tea the next, and that times, deadlines, not deadlines, years and things like that. Are always ages. They're my kind of downfall.
As much as 46 in one paragraph and 42 in another.
And then their gravestone might read something else yet again. But I think I've got it. And this is the weird thing. I've written it all down in my notebook and I've done my timeline, and yet I still managed to get it wrong.
Yeah, well, that's, again, understandable, isn't it?
I think it is, because it's 92,000 words of a book.
And anything can enter your head at that time.
Yeah.
One more, but I want to ask you, obviously, some books on the beach questions, but one more on It Ends Here before, if I may. And again, I'm going to offer no context to this quote, but there's a character called Ede.
Yeah.
And Ede says, when you meet someone as an adult, you only see them from that point on. They've already painted a portrait of the person they want you to see. And that line, Heidi, stuck with me. Honestly, really. And I thought, is that true of all of us? Do you think it's true of all of us?
I don't know. It's an interesting one. I remember writing that and then thinking, oh, that's interesting thought. Is that true?
So that came out your fingertips onto the keyboard before you'd even clocked it?
I didn't particularly think of it. And I think it was because Ede, her granddaughter's in there. She's known her granddaughter all her life. She thinks she knows absolutely everything there is to know. If you meet someone, when you're 25, 30, I wanted to make that point.
Yes.
That, well, I've got nothing to hide. Yeah. And so that was what I was doing with it. And but then I did think, is that true? We are... and that's what I was trying to bring out of all my married couples in there. They are hiding things from their past. There are things that you might not tell your partner when you meet them, or you might not tell them straight off because you don't bring all of your past out straight away, do you? You're creating.
No, and also even the present, right? I doubt your partner knows every single thought you've had that day.
No. But we change as well. We're not necessarily we're not the same people that we were in our teens or 20s or 30s. And so
we're just more knackered.
My husband and I have said, God, if we met in our 20s, we probably wouldn't have been together.
Yeah.
We might, we were very different people into very different things back then. We met in our mid 30s and we're at a different stage of our life and that's worked. But so I liked writing Ede, In fact, she was people that have come back and read It Ends Here. I don't know what you think, but so many people have said to me, "Oh, Ede is my favourite character."
Well, I really liked Aaron, the detective.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I really did. But what I liked about him was that he, straight from the off, he gets a bad feeling in his gut about all this.
Yeah.
And he follows it. And his boss isn't really having it.
Yeah.
And I quite liked that he stuck to his convictions. And he's also, once the relatives start to turn up, he's quite calm, but also quite cunning in the way that he organises them. I
think I do base him on my detective friend, actually. Going back to what you said about basing it on people. I really admire him, and I know him as a friend rather than obviously as a police officer.
Yeah.
But I love that, that feeling of knowing. And of having that gut feeling of knowing what's right and wrong, but also doing, he'll say to me, you can do whatever you want in a lot of these situations. Because my worry was always on the police side. I have no experience in policing. what is realistic, but he's very, very good at saying to me, you can make many things work as long as you've got a reason for why you're interviewing that person, or as long as you've got a reason for doing it. And so I can't talk about this because it is the end of the book. It comes at the end of the book. But let's go back to what you said about throwing all the relatives in one room. I didn't think you could do that. I didn't think it would be something that police would do.
Right.
I thought they would actually keep them apart.
Right.
And it isn't until talk to him and he says, you know, you can do it. You can do it for this reason. Actually, that because every situation is completely different and they'll tackle it in whatever way they see fit at the time.
So, do you want to shout him out or do you want to keep his name to yourself?
I will shout him out because he's in my book. It's Chris Bradford. I don't know whether he would be happy for me to shout him out or not, but
I think so. You've been very flattering about him and what he brings to your
he's
career.
Brilliant. And as you know, as I say in the book, any mistakes are my own because they are. But
when I spoke to the great Michael Connolly, he's got a plethora of police people that advise him, but what he almost uses them for is precisely what you were saying. Is rather than saying, "Have I got this right?" It's like, right, this is what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
Can I get away with that, or actually would it not be plausible?
Yeah. And I've actually changed endings of my stories before because, especially with the first one, with Now You See Her, I completely changed the ending because I spoke to him and he said, "No, that would never happen." And I think I really underestimated the police's abilities to solve a case.
Right.
I think I was being wishful thinking.
So that's interesting. So then the whole ending had to go.
Yeah. But for the better.
Yeah. I want to ask you what the ending was now, but would it spoil the book for those who haven't read it? And we're going back a few years, aren't we? There's statute of limitations on...
No, I'm not going to. It was, no, I won't. Okay. I won't talk about it because it was quite, it would be quite a giveaway.
Yeah, fine. No, that's fair enough. I haven't read it, so that's why my question was slightly founded from a point of ignorance. In fact, this is my first Heidi purchase.
Yeah.
And it was a great one to go in. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it because it's clever and it's fast. And it's also, I think any book that takes you out of your world and puts you into theirs, that's the win for me as a reader.
And I really want, there are a few things that I really want to make sure that I get out of all of my books and I want the reading experience to be. And it is, I want people to say, what you've said yourself, what would I do in that situation? I want to put you in that dilemma that says, I don't actually know how I would act. And that might not be how I would act, but I completely understand why someone would.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Books on the Beach is the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
Give me the best holiday you've ever had in your life, Heidi Perks.
I love a holiday. The one that's really sticking in my head at the moment is the family have just been to Thailand and it was absolutely incredible. For our first time to Asia, we love traveling, we love exploring, we love doing lots of different adventure-y type things. So that sticks out for me. Either that or I love an American road trip.
Yeah, go on. How many of those have you done?
We've only done 2.
Okay.
As a family, we've only done 2.
What have you done?
California and Florida.
Yeah, nice.
Florida in a big RV. That was fun.
Yeah.
And California.
Did you drive the RV?
No.
Because I've never driven one, you see, and they look very cumbersome.
I can barely drive our camper van. I wouldn't be driving an RV. I do remember when my husband started driving and it was just huge. They are huge, aren't they? They are absolutely massive.
And the steering wheel's massive on them. It's like a bus.
Yeah. It was a bit daunting to begin with.
But you did all right,
I think you get used to it because the roads are so big and the car parks are so massive.
Yeah. It's a different ball game driving over there, isn't it? Yeah. So you did the road trips in California and Florida.
We love a holiday where you've got a few different things going on and, and everybody's satisfied by some part of the holiday then. Because, when there's 4 of you with the kids are older now and they have their own things that they want to do. It isn't as simple as just getting a pool and a massive pool and a lilo anymore.
No.
We all have different needs.
Thank you for sharing that because that's in the post for me, so I can
get
my thinking cap on. Well, at the moment, our kids are happy with the pool and the lilo.
You're happy with a TUI, as long as it's got a big water park attached to it and
they love a water park. Yeah, that's right, pirate ship.
Pirate show.
Preferably some golden arches not too far away.
Yeah, brilliant.
They love all that.
Well, that's most places.
Easter just gone was the first holiday where the kids went to the kids club. So we had a bit of respite.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine have never done that.
Ever?
No. Always never wanted to. I mean, you know, they were 2 years apart. They've always loved playing together.
Oh,
and,
so you have had respite. You've had moments where they go and entertain each other.
I have the respite.
Yeah.
I'm not the one that has to get in the pool and throw the ball around because Dad's so much better at it than me. I'm quite lucky.
Do you know, a friend of mine told me, let me just make sure I'm not giving away who this is, very similar situation on the last holiday. And some guy went up to her. She was on her lounge on her own because obviously her fella's in the pool with the girls.
Yeah.
And he says, excuse me, love, is that your husband? And she says, yeah, thinking, what's going on?
Yeah.
And he says, he's occupying my kids and I feel really bad about it. And she said, don't, he loves it. Right. So then apparently this guy said, would you think he'd appreciate if I bought him a beer? And she said, oh, I think he would love that very much. But apparently
he'll have a
the husband
colada,
had a
please.
kind of, but he had about 10 kids all round as well as his two.
Oh my God, how hilarious.
And he was basically doing the whole pool entertainment thing.
That is very funny, isn't it?
Right, best book you've ever read. Do you read on holiday? I mean, if you're all...
Yes.
You do? Okay.
All
do you know
the
why I
time.
asked with that? Because if you're all busy doing, trips, travelling kind of activities, is there much time for reading?
We have to have downtime.
Right.
And I think I read 4 books when we went to Thailand.
That's incredible.
And that's probably still half the amount my daughter reads right now. She's a really avid reader. She's more than me.
In what are we talking?
She gets through them.
Is that 2 weeks?
This was 2 weeks, yeah.
That's
she gets
phenomenal.
through them so quickly. And
I did 3 and I thought that was quick.
I still take hardbacks with me sometimes as well.
Just don't weigh your hand luggage down.
Yeah, no,
you read
not
off
in
on
my
Lee's,
hand luggage. That's in my suitcase, and I do. I still, I build my reading list up so that I'm taking some really exciting, the books that I really, really want to be reading.
That you've
on
saved for holiday. I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I love it. I think there's nothing better than sitting on a lounger reading for an hour or 2.
I agree. And it's really good mentally as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, James Patterson, I've interviewed once before, but he writes so many books in a year. Which one did you read?
Many. I read Judge Stone. He'd co-authored it with Viola Davis.
Oh, yeah.
And set in Alabama, court case about a rape trial. And it's just incredibly interesting. It's one of those books that you think should have been set in the 60s, but it's set in current day. And just
not too grisly.
It's not grisly. It's attitude and belief and behaviour that is just quite scary. That
so that's called Judge Stone.
Judge Stone.
Okay, I've really enjoyed the ones he's done with Bill Clinton. Have you read those?
I haven't actually, no, but I have heard very good things about them.
Really good. I mean, you can see in that one what's going on is that Jim's doing the narrative propulsion, but the level of detail from within the White House has clearly come from President Clinton, right?
Right. Okay.
So that's why the books are juicier.
And he wrote one with Reese Witherspoon, which was brilliant as well, I think.
Did he?
Yeah.
Or was that Harlan Coben?
Yes. It was Harlan Coben. Now you said it. It was Harlan Coben. That was another really, really good book as well. But I love it. I love reading on holiday, and I prefer reading books that aren't set in England when I'm on holiday.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Linda LaPlante, I don't know if you heard her answer, but she said that she went to somewhere in America, might have been New York, and found herself on a beach. And it was a Raymond Chandler event that she was speaking at, and she'd never read a Chandler. So she read them all on the beach and got sunburnt because she stayed on the beach too long because she got hooked into these. Yeah. I've not read a Chandler, so I must put that right.
No, I haven't either. No.
That's the trouble. There's so
many.
There's
many phenomenal authors whose books I've never read.
Yes. And it comes down to time then, doesn't it?
And going back to Harlan Coben with Reese Witherspoon, I hadn't actually read any Harlan Coben until I read that. And I've seen some of them on Netflix, subsequently read them and thought he's a much better author than... I much prefer reading his books than I do watching the Netflix series. Yeah.
Isn't that true of most things, though?
I think
because
so,
you conjure the world in your imagination, and then when you see it on screen, it's not quite what was in your brain, is it?
Yeah, and I mean...
This is the problem Lee Child had with Jack Reacher, isn't it, when Tom Cruise played him?
Yeah.
Not
that I'd ever read any Jack Reacher
Had you
either.
not?
No.
Have you read them? Have you not read one at all?
No,
oh, you should.
No,
they are great. No. Yeah, I like them a lot. I like Lee a lot. Lee's fantastic.
I think that's what's so brilliant, isn't it? You have all these lists of go-to authors that, you wait for and everything. And then, I will read a lot of debuts as well. And there's still so many that I haven't yet, got to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also a lot of writers tell me where they are in their writing cycle impacts what they can read. I mean, Stephen King always says a great writer has to be a voracious reader, but you can't read voraciously if you're in the middle of a writing project.
No, it's a really funny thing, actually, because I do find that you do get a bit, you take in the voice, the way that they write. Especially if you've got a very strong writer that you're reading at that precise moment, you tend to absorb the way that they write,
and then
that comes
text
out in your own prose, and that I find quite interesting. But I still, I still think it is a really important thing for me to carry on reading while I'm writing, because you're just learning from people, from other authors all the time.
Yes,
and there are some people who do character absolutely brilliantly, and in very different genres, and there are some people who write place, who bring the atmosphere of place to life, and you just just to be absorbing that as you're writing.
For me, like Michael Connolly and Don Winslow do both of those things.
Okay.
I don't know if have you read a Don Winslow?
No. It's now going to sound like I haven't read anyone, isn't it?
Well, you just read different things to me. That's fine. But he can tell you so much about somebody in about 3 lines, sometimes even 1 sentence.
And that's so clever.
It's so clever. It's such an art form.
Taylor Jenkins Reid as well, I think, does that brilliantly.
Yeah, really good. Yeah. Spoke to her on a previous podcast, and she's great.
I bet she's the
really interesting. Yeah, and but I think from what I remember, I think there's a lot of rewriting similar to yourself,
right?
To get that absolutely spot on.
Research you must do.
Yeah. Although some of it must be great fun, right? Tennis players and that kind of thing.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's book 9? Tell me about book 9.
So book 9's set in Cornwall, because I don't know, you probably aren't aware of this, but all of my books tend to be set along the south coast of England. So
I figured it was closer towards where you live.
Yeah. So I'm Bournemouth, I'm Dorset, and so I think there's so many beautiful places along the coast, but I like to find idyllic little small town places that I can create and change and make, horrible things happen in them. So book 9 is set in Cornwall on the top of a cliff. It's a mother and daughter. The mother, her husband died 15 years ago. They believed that he'd thrown himself off the cliff outside their house. 15 years on, another body is found, or a body is found, because he was never found, at the bottom of the cliff in the exact same spot that he died, almost to the day that he died 15 years later. So now it's very much looking that something else is going on, and 15 years apart. And so it's this small town mentality of someone here knows what happened.
Yes.
And someone here might be responsible.
And what was the germ of that idea? Was it the place, or was it the 15-year time cycle?
It was the fact that the daughter, who was 6 at the time and is now 21, is investigating her own father's death. So it starts with the relationship. It's kind of like the idea of a cold case mystery, of an amateur detective cold case mystery, but it's her father that she's looking into. So there are some things that other people don't want her to find out. So that was where the idea of that came from. And it developed and changed dramatically. This one, I have literally written the book from start to finish and changed it 4 times. And I know that doesn't sound like as much as normal, but what I mean by that is I completely rewrote the book.
Oh, really?
Because it didn't work 3 times of sending it back for edits and agents coming.
Didn't work
back
as in didn't make sense?
Didn't work as in they just said it is not working as a story as it is. You really need to relook at all of this. So I started writing the book very much 50% of it was written 15 years ago and 50% of it was written in the present day.
Sure.
And I wanted to show this difference of this was what was happening then, and then suddenly this is where we've got to. And I had in my head how I wanted to write the story, but I was just duplicating everything. There was no point in having all of these.
Sure.
And I think you don't realise that you're doing that sometimes. No. You're so in the headspace of what you think is working that you don't ever stand back, or it's really difficult to stand back and look at it objectively and say, yeah, no, that's not working as it is. And so you need your
Well, that's what your editor's for.
editor to be able to do that. And it did get to the point on my 4th rewrite where in my heart I thought, no, I know it's working now. But at the same time, I thought, if you don't tell me it's working, I really don't know what else I can do now. Okay. I'm done. I'm going to have to find another story.
Okay. But it did work.
But it did. And we're very pleased with it.
Oh, congratulations. And have you got, so we get that March 27?
March 27, yeah.
And have you got a title for it yet? Or can we workshop it?
We are literally having conversations about it at this moment. And we have got a title. We've got a title that we're hoping for, but I'm waiting for confirmation.
Clearance. Yeah. Is that from the US as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope you get what you want.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and I found it really informative about the writing process.
Thank you very much.
Well. Thanks for coming to see us. We should explain that Heidi came all the way from
pleasure.
Bournemouth to do this in Manchester, where these beautiful studios are. So I'm very grateful for that.
No, it's been
It Ends Here is Heidi Perks' book. Can you do me some favours before you go? Can you make sure you're following on Apple, also Spotify, Amazon Music? Well, I mean, not all of them, whichever one you get your audio podcasts from. If you watch this on YouTube, can you please subscribe to the channel? It really helps to just bump things along and give the algorithm a kick up the arse. You know what I mean, don't you? And we'll be back next time with some more amazing writers on Books on the Beach. Now, it does end here. See you soon.